can't even really call that an upset. But Blair the Flair, Cobbs defeats Adrien the Problem Broner. Man, you know AB ain't beat him. A loss to Blair. Man, that was pretty hard to watch. Adrien the Problem Broner versus Blair the Flair Cobbs, Don King Promotions. You know, the card was nothing special, especially the heavyweight fight. You had a heavyweight that wasn't throwing punches. Main event, I didn't really expect much because both guys have been out the ring and very inactive. The fight itself wasn't, you know, horrible. It wasn't as bad as like the heavyweight fight, but it was kind of a bit sad to see because from that performance, most people who watched it can safely say that it's an end of an era. And that's the sad part about boxing is people you know grow up watching, stay in the game, sometimes make certain decisions in their career, take bad losses, go through these wars and stuff like that. And this is kind of, more often than not, this is how it ends if you stay in the game too long. You know, it's like Carlito's Way, where he wanted to get out the game, but he stayed in a little bit too long, right? And it's an unfortunate reality for boxers. Boxers are stubborn. They got pride, they got ego, they don't know when to hang it up. There's no other, you know, you have to understand and sympathize. And I will get back to the Blair Cobbs fight with Broner, but you got to empathize. Some of these guys have been boxing. Most of them have been boxing since they were kids. This is literally all they know. They might not have another skill set, like they can play the piano or, you know, act, or went to a trade school and became a plumber. This is literally how they make their coin. So that's why I think a lot of times you see the fighters press on and continue on. Plus, I mean, who doesn't want, you know, a screaming crowd, screaming your name and stuff like that? You can make money for and be rewarded for hurting people, and you can't make that type of money, like make millions in less than 36 minutes potentially. But this fight was hard to watch as a fan of Broner and, you know, someone who's covered his career. He just doesn't look like the same. He looks like a shell of his former self. In the second round, round 2, Blair caught Broner with a straight left hand. Blair Cobbs is a southpaw, so we heard that Blair Cobbs had some good power, and he landed it early in the fight when you're at your full strength and your full battery. You know, you got the battery on full charge. It's only the second round. Clips Broner. Down goes Broner. He gets dropped. But adding insult to injury, according to the commentary crew, they're saying that that punch and that sequence knocked out Adrien Broner's teeth, or a tooth, and he lost a tooth in that sequence. Wow. And again, this was only in the second round, so at the end of the day, Broner was already behind the 8 ball very early in the fight. This is not what you want for a guy who's been inactive. It's not what you want for a comeback fight. Blair Cobbs is younger, he's strong, and he was just overall busier throughout the fight. There's not much of a breakdown other than that. I mean, Broner, he's a dog, so he tried. He fought everybody that he could, you know, and he fought guys like Pacquiao. He fought the Maidanas and things like that. And I think those wars have taken something out of him. I think another big reason for Broner's slippage particularly is I think he just wasn't living the life of a boxer for a good percentage of it while he was in the game. And now as he's gotten older, it's harder to reclaim that, if not impossible, in some of these situations. Meaning, if you go through depression, or you do drugs, substance abuse, drinking alcohol, letting your body balloon up in weight, and then you try to just have these, you know, fat camps and get back in shape, is like too little too late. Your body's not going to forgive all the things you've done, you know, because you buckle down and hanker down for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever in your training camp. And that's what it looks like. It looks like the abuse that Broner has done to his body, letting his weight stray, also going through wars and taking on these tough challenges, it's all caught up to Adrien Broner in his 30s, right? And now he's hesitant to let his hands go. And it's just, he can't be the same fighter. You can't be the same fighter if you're not showing all of the same ingredients that made you a champion. And it's sad because Broner, he was only 24. He became a 4-division champion. That's a heck of an accomplishment. But from what I'm seeing, it just doesn't look like the same fighter. You see little shades maybe of old Broner, but he did lose this fight. In my opinion, Blair was just busier. Plus he had a knockdown. Broner couldn't let his hands go enough to get anything started. Surprisingly, Broner did show a lot of heart. And I think some of the later rounds, it was only a 10-rounder. And some of his best rounds were like 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range. So he did show tremendous heart, trying to do the unthinkable and climb the mountain, but also too little too late. This is boxing. If you're in a 10-rounder, you need 5 rounds just to score a draw, right? Plus, he has the knockdown, so that gives him a mad upper hand in a 10-round fight. And if you're not letting your hands go and you can't return the favor and drop Blair the Flair, then you're just up Ish Creek. That's just what it is. And that's what we've seen from Broner. He did try, yes, he was trying to get something started. He even landed some good shots, like I said, rounds 8 through 10, trying to get something going. But Blair, being younger, decently durable, and determined, it was enough for him to kind of survive. Like in the final round, Broner had some sense of urgency, and Blair started to really kind of run, and he was moving a lot, and Broner was trying to hunt him down, but it just doesn't look like the same Broner. His reaction time definitely did not look there. If you're getting dropped, Broner has always had a chin. You're getting dropped by a guy that in the past maybe you wouldn't get dropped by. Your reaction time, your timing, your punches look slow. You look at Broner's body, his midsection look real doughy. And again, this is just years of abuse and making bad decisions, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people, even the crowd, everybody was kind of pulling for Broner. We like to see these Cinderella Man stories where people reverse and turn back the clock, but this is a long time coming, Again, you can't do this damage to your body and then just have I trained with Tank, because Tank is younger than you, and Tank hasn't done all this stuff to his body and party. From my knowledge, he hasn't done all this stuff, right? Because Broner was the lit guy before Tank. So Tank was almost able to learn from the mistakes of people before him, like Broner, and be around Floyd to see like the discipline. And it just makes you wonder, and it's kind of sad. Broner was thought to be kind of like the next Mayweather. That's what people were saying, even though they don't really fight alike. But imagine if he would have took that one thing from Floyd that we all know Floyd has, which is the discipline angle, and did something with it. Now you have this Broner who's not capable of clearly and convincingly beating Blair Cobbs. Again, this is not surprising to me because I know boxing, and although people love underdog stories, including myself, people love the Cinderella Man stories, boxing a lot of times is what you see is what you get. People are always waiting for this George Foreman where he's 40 fighting a younger, fresh Michael Moore, and then he just surprisingly knocks him out. It does happen on occasion, but more often than not, if you follow the fighter's career and you follow history, 9 times out of 10, what you see is what you get. And Broner barely beat Giovanni Santiago years ago, and he hasn't had great activity since then. Plus, he said he was depressed, so who knows what he was doing at that given point. And there was pictures of him where he looked big. So, having a fat camp, getting the weight off, it has to be discouraging. He looked really discouraged when they announced Blair Cobbs as the winner, because it's a kind of a harsh reality. Everybody came to see you, and then, you can't even beat a guy like Blair Cobbs. So it's like a reality check. Like, man, I'm really not that dude that I once was. And again, I attribute it to lack of discipline throughout the career of Broner. Inactivity. I also tell you, inactivity can be a killer, especially a person like Broner who's not necessarily going to stay in shape. Like you have a guy like, for example, Andre Ward. He had a legal battle, but he's not going to do all that extra stuff during that 3 or 4 years or whatever that he was out the ring, to the point where it's detrimental to his career when he comes back. Or even a more recent example, Amantis Stanionis. He kept thinking he was going to fight Virgil Ortiz. He also had an appendectomy, so he was out, and he hadn't been in the ring in like 2 years. He didn't look like Broner, you know, because I believe he's, one, younger, but he's also probably living a more disciplined life than Adrien Broner. Harsh but true. So although I was hoping Broner could get something done and, you know, not have an embarrassing performance, and I don't know if people would say this is embarrassing. It's just kind of expected. The younger guy in boxing a lot of times wins, especially if you've lacked discipline and things there. Blair has some power. He's younger. He was fresher. He got it done. It's kind of what I've seen. You know, as far as Broner, he has to really consider probably retirement at this point, because I tell you, I don't tell people when to retire typically, but the criteria that I do use is if you no longer can do the things you're known for doing and you're completely, you know, an emptied shell of what you once were, that's usually when it's time. Like, oh, this guy's known for a chin, but then he getting floored by people, or he's known for power and then you don't see the power anymore. He's known for heart and then he quits and gives up. You know, anything that goes against what we know you for since you came in the game, I think you have to kind of consider. And that's where Broner is. Like, you're losing to a guy like Blair Cobbs, and you're losing in this fashion, like pretty much getting dominated and losing mostly all the rounds. I don't really know where you go from here. You're with Don King. You got your tooth knocked out, things like that. So let me know what you guys think. I'm not trying to kick a man while he's down. These are the harsh realities of a cruel sport like boxing.